Okay, so last lecture I discussed the percentage composition, and now I'm going to discuss how to get the empirical and the molecular formula. So what is the empirical formula? It is the simplest chemical formula. The simplest chemical formula is the empirical formula. So the empirical formula shows the simplest whole number ratio of the atoms present in a compound. So anong ibig sabihin nun? Yung ating empirical formula, hindi yun yung ating exact formula, no? Ang pinapakita lang niya is the simplest whole number ratio nung atoms nung compound. So the empirical formula of a compound can be determined using the percent composition. So isang tip, pag ang given sa'yo sa problem ay percent composition, empirical formula yun, no? Madalas ganun kasi yun. Okay. So, may nakalagay dito na procedures how to get the empirical formula. But I'll try to simplify things for you, no? I'll try not to be too technical. So, how do you get the empirical formula? 4 easy steps lang din. Step 1, the percent is equal to the gram. Step 2, gram, convert it to mole. Ayan. I'll write it in words para mas magets ninyo. So, the percent is equal to gram, and then gram, convert to mole. Convert to mole. Next, number 3, divide using the smallest ratio. Number 4, not ratio, sorry. Divide using the smallest value. And number 4, the result is equal to the subscript. So, I think itong steps na to medyo hindi pa masyadong malinaw kasi hindi pa tayo nagsosolve. Pero habang magsosolve ako mamaya in getting the the empirical formula, i-elaborate ko isa-isa yung mga steps na iyan. So, for example, what is the empirical formula of a compound containing 70.19% lead, 8.14% carbon, and 21.67% oxygen? Now, if you add these percentages, 70.19 plus 8.14 plus 21.67, approximately equal sila to 100. So, kung ano yung percentage, yun lang din yung grams. So, ibig sabihin, kung 100% lahat yan, equal lang yan sa 100 grams. So, anong ibig sabihin nun? I'll use a different color ng pen, no? Para mas nasusundan ninyo yung steps. So, yung step 1, kung ano yung percent, yun din yung ating grams. So, kung 70.19% ng lead yan, edi equal lang din yan sa 70.19 grams ng lead. Same sa carbon. Kung 8.14% yung ating carbon, equal lang din yan sa 8.14 grams ng carbon. Next, 21.67% oxygen, equal lang din yan sa 21.67 grams ng oxygen. Napakadali nung step 1, no? Step 2, ayan, let's use a different color ng pen. Ayan. So, for step 2, let's use this color. Convert these grams to mole. So, convert these grams to mole. So, itong 70.19 grams ng lead, 70.19 grams ng lead, i-convert mo lang yan to mole. And ano yung conversion factor nilang lahat? 1 mole of any substance is equal to the molecular mass in grams. So, in this case, pag nag-convert tayo ng grams ng lead to mole, so in this case, ang conversion factor natin para sa una, 1 mole of lead, asan yung lead? Bring out your periodic table and get the molecular weight or the atomic weight of your lead. So, that is 207.220 grams. Ayan, 20 grams ng lead. Next, ayan, hindi siya makakonect. My goodness. Anyway, we'll carry on with the lecture hanggang sa bumalik yung aking internet. Kasi nakapatay pala siya. Ayan, I'm sorry. So, next, 70.19. Ayan. So 70.19 grams of lead can now be converted to moles. And how do you do that? So you start with the given. So ang given sa'yo this time ay itong mga values na ito. Ayan, si lead ay nandito. It's 207.2. Ayan, 207.2. So you start with the given, 70.19 grams. So 70.19 grams ng lead. Sa baba po, ano yung nasa baba? Grams din. 207.20 grams, 1 mole ng lead. Bakit nasa baba yung grams? Para mag-cancel. So, input this in your calculator, 70.19 divided by 207.2. It's now equal to 0. Ayan, lagyan na natin sa baba. Huwag na natin ipagsiksikan dyan. 0.339 mole. 0.339 mole of lead. Mamaya, may gagawin tayo dyan. Step 2 pa lang tayo, class, ha? Step 2 pa lang. We are still on step 2. Okay, next. The next one is convert 8.14 grams of carbon to mole. Kasi yun yung second step, eh. Grams convert to mole. I-convert muna natin lahat tong values na to mole. So, 8.14 grams ng carbon. What is the, what do you call this? What is the conversion factor? So, the conversion factor here is 1 mole of carbon is equal to 12.01 grams ng carbon. So, dito, sa loob ng parenthesis, sa baba pa rin yung grams para mag-cancel. Sa taas, yung mole ng carbon. Input that in your calculator, 8.14 divided by 12.01. Okay. So, that is equal to 0.678 mole of your carbon. Next, the last one is the oxygen, di ba? 21.67 grams ng oxygen. What is the conversion factor? 1 mole of oxygen is equal to, here, in the periodic table, it's 15.99. So, 15.99 grams. So, sa baba, 15.99 grams. Sa taas, 1 mole ng oxygen. Input that in your calculator. That is equal to what? 1.355 mole. Okay, for step 3, I'll be using a red pen. Step 3, ang sabi is, divide using the smallest value. But what is the smallest value? Tingnan mo ngayon yung mga sagot from the conversions. Dito, you have 0.339 mole ng lead, 0.678 mole ng carbon, and 1.355 mole ng oxygen. Among these three values, ayan, lagyan ko ng highlight, sino yung pinakamaliit? Itong si 0.339 mole ng lead. So, i-divide mo silang lahat sa 0.339 mole. Divide them all. Divide your answers to 0.339 mole. This one we divide by 0.339 mole. So, this one is just equal to 1. Ayan. And 0.678 divided by 0.339, that is equal to 2. And here, 355 divided by 0.339, it's equal to 3.99. That is already equal to 4. Now, these box results, anong nakalagay doon sa ating last step? Okay, let's use purple. Sabi, the result is equal to the subscript. So, si lead, using lead, the result was 1. So, ibig sabihin, the empirical formula, ayan, si lead, ang subscript niya ay 1, hindi na natin sinusulat yan. Itong 2, kanino to galing? Kay carbon. So, si carbon, ang subscript niya ay 2. Next, itong 4, kanino galing to? Kay oxygen. So, oxygen, PbC2O4. This is your empirical formula. The results are just the subscripts. Very easy. It's very easy. You just have to follow those steps. Okay? Next, Ayan. So, this just shows the, what do you call this? The solution, no? Ayan. Just step by step. Ayan. And then you get the empirical formula. So, hindi ko nga masyadong sinusundan yung sa PowerPoint kasi I don't want to be too technical, no? I want you to really learn how to calculate, and these are just some of the techniques na natutunan ko when I was still studying, and I followed this 4 easy steps, no? Kahit graduate na ako. Ayan. So, let's try another. Determine the empirical formula of a compound that has the following percent composition. Okay. Let's try answering this one. Step 1. Ayan. Step 1. Kung ano yung percent, yun yung gram. So, sa step 1, si potassium is 24.75%. So, ibig sabihin, equal lang din yan sa 24.75 grams. Si manganese, 34.77%. So, 34.77 grams. Oxygen is 40.51%, so 40.51 grams. Very easy si step 1, very easy. Step 2, convert the grams to mole. Okay. So, ko-convert natin to mole. So, unahin natin si potassium. So, yung mole ng potassium is 24.75 grams. Parenthesis, sa baba, grams, sa taas, 1 mole ng potassium. Bakit? Kasi ang conversion factor niyan is 1 mole ng potassium is equal to, what is the molecular weight or the atomic weight of your potassium? Your potassium is 39.10 grams. Ayan, so 39.10 grams. Sa baba yung grams para mag-cancel. So 24.75 divided by 39.10, that is equal to 0.633 mole ng potassium. Next, si manganese naman. Manganese is how many grams? 34.77. 34.77 grams of manganese. What is the conversion factor? The conversion factor is 1 mole of manganese is equal to, where's manganese? Here. 54.94 grams. So, sa baba, 54.94 grams. Sa taas, 1 mole ni manganese. Ayan. So, input that in your calculator. So, 34.77 divided by 54.94. That is equal to 0.633 mole ng manganese. Ayan. Bakit nasa baba yung grams? Kasi nandito sa taas ay grams para mag-cancel, no? Ilalagay natin sa denominator. Para grams cancels grams. The last one is oxygen. It's 40.51. So, 40.51 grams of oxygen. What's the conversion factor? Where's your oxygen? There. Here's your oxygen. So, 1 mole of oxygen is now equal to 15.99 grams. So, sa baba, yung grams para mag-cancel. 1 mole of oxygen. So, 40.51 divided by 15.99. That is equal to 2.53. 2.53 mole of oxygen. Okay, what is the third step? I'll use a different pen, no? So, nakalagay dito, step 2 is convert gram to mole. Now, the third step is choose, di ba? Choose the smallest value. Smallest value and divide. So, among your results, 2.533 mole ng oxygen. Ayan, lagyan natin ng bilog para mas makita ninyo. Among these moles you have computed, sino yung pinakamaliit? You have 0.633 mole, 0.633 mole, and 2.533. Si 0.633 mole, parehas sila. Si potassium at si magnesium. So, divide 0.633 mole sa lahat ng value. So, this is equal to 1. Kay potassium ito, kay manganese, equal to 1 din. And for oxygen, divide by 0.633 mole. Bakit nga po si 0.633 mole yung pinang-divide natin? Kasi siya yung pinakamaliit. So, 2.533, input that in your calculator, divided by 0.633, it's equal to 4. Ayan. So, itong 4 na ito ay kay oxygen. Box your answers, no? Para mas madali nyong makita. What's the last step? Ayan. Balik ko sa black. The last step is the subscript. Sorry, baliktad. The result is equal to the subscript. So, for potassium, the result is 1. So, lalagyan ba natin ng subscript? Hindi na po. Pag 1 po yung result, hindi na natin ilalagay. So, the empirical formula is K1. Hindi na sinusulat yung 1. Next, si manganese ay 1 din daw po. So, manganese, 1. Pero we don't write 1 anymore. And oxygen is, what's the answer? 4. So, this is the empirical formula. It's very easy. Of course, it's very easy, no? You just need to follow the 4 easy steps. Okay? So, after this, marunong na kayong kumuha ng ng empirical formula. We'll now compute for the molecular formula. Ayan. So, where did we stop? Ayan. Please bear with me as I find the slide where we stopped. Okay. So, somewhere here, yes. Dito tayo tumigil, no? Ayan. Yung molecular formula, pag kinukuha, madali na lang siya pag may empirical formula ka na. So, here, I'll write the easy steps, no? Molecular formula na tayo. The molecular formula, ano bang pinagkaiba niya doon sa empirical formula? It is the exact formula, no? The molecular formula is the exact formula. It shows the exact number of atoms of each element in a molecule. It represents the actual formula of a molecule. So, the empirical formula, it may or may not be the same as the molecular formula, no? There are times kasi na kung ano yung empirical formula natin, yun na yung ating molecular formula. So, ano yung formula to get your molecular formula? Ito lang po siya. The empirical formula, so the empirical formula times n. Yung n na yan, isosolve natin mamaya yung n na yan. Hindi siya mukhang n. I'll rewrite it. This n right here, we're going to solve for that. Okay. So, the important thing here is just this one. How do you solve for n? N is equal to the molecular formula mass over the empirical formula mass. Now, you can't get the molecular formula. You can't compute for the molecular formula kung wala ka pang empirical formula. So, ang first step talaga lagi is kinukuha muna natin yung empirical formula bago natin computein yung molecular formula. Okay. It's very easy, no? Let's have a problem. So, for example, this is your empirical formula, CH2O. If you solve for N and you get 6, the molecular formula becomes glucose. So, again, the molecular formula is the exact formula. So, here, this is the empirical formula. Itong 6 dito na nasa labas, yan yung sinusolve natin na N, no? Dinidistribute lang yan dun sa empirical formula. So, 6 times 1, kasi 1 yung subscript ni carbon, that's equal to 6. 6 times 2, kasi 2 yung subscript ni hydrogen, it's equal to 12. Si oxygen, walang subscript, so 6 times 1, it's equal to 6. Ayan. Okay, let's try solving a problem. Okay. One important thing to note here is that ito, class, itong molecular formula mass, lagi itong given sa problem. This is always given in your problem, okay? So, here, you have to solve first for the empirical formula before you get the molecular formula. Kailangan mag-solve ka, alam mo muna yung empirical formula bago mo makuha yung empirical formula. So, let's solve for this one. So, it says here, caffeine found in coffee and tea contains 49.5% carbon, 5.20% hydrogen, 28.8% nitrogen, and 16.5% oxygen. So, the follow-up question is, its molecular mass is 194.1 gram per mole. Find the molecular mass of caffeine. So, ito class, ito yan, yung molecular formula mass. So, let's first find the empirical formula. So, the first step again is percent is equal to gram. So, you have 49.5% ng carbon. So, 49.5 grams ng carbon. Next, you have 5.20% ng hydrogen. So, 5.20 grams ng hydrogen. 28.8 grams ng nitrogen. And 16.5 grams ng oxygen. Step 2, convert these grams to mole. Ayan. Isusulat ko na dito yung conversion factor, no? So, yung conversion factor dito is 1 mole of carbon is equal to 12.01 grams. Saan galing yung 12.01 grams? Sa periodic table. Next, conversion factor nito, 1 mole of hydrogen is equal to 1.01 grams. Ayan. So, medyo memorize ko na, no? Kasi kapag lagi ka nagko-compute, hindi mo maiwasan. Mas mafamiliarize ka talaga doon sa specific atomic weights. So, conversion factor nito is 1 mole ni nitrogen is equal to 14.00 grams. Again, saan galing yung grams? Galing to sa periodic table, no? Conversion factor ng oxygen to mole, 1 mole of oxygen is equal to 15.99 grams. Okay, so convert na tayo. Una nating i-convert is yung si carbon. So, you start with your given, 49.5 grams ng carbon. Sa loob yung ating conversion factors. So, ito yung conversion factor for carbon. Sa baba yung grams. Bakit po nasa baba? Para mag-cancel. 1 mole of carbon. So, this is equal to how many moles of carbon? This is equal to 4.12 mole of carbon. I-specify ha kung kaninong compound yon. Huwag kakalimutan. Next, yung 5.20 grams ng hydrogen. Sa baba, 1.01 grams ng hydrogen. Sa taas, 1 mole ng hydrogen. So, input that in your calculator. That is equal to how many moles? 5.149 is equal to 5.149 mole of hydrogen. Next, what's the next one? 28.8 grams of nitrogen. What's the conversion factor? This one. So, sa baba, 14 grams, no? Bakit sa baba yung 14 grams? Para mag-cancel. Dito, 1 mole ng nitrogen. So, input those values in your calculator and what do you get? You get 2.057 mole ng nitrogen. The next one, si oxygen, it's 16.5 grams, di ba? Sa loob, yung ng parenthesis, yung ating conversion factor, dito ay 15.99 grams. Dito ay 1 mole ng oxygen. So, 16.5 divided by 15.99, that is equal to how much? 1.032 mole ng oxygen. So, what is the next step? I'll use a different pen, no? Step 3, di ba? Divide using the smallest number. So, among these values, 1.032, 2.057, 5.149, and 4.122, sino yung pinakamaliit? Ito, si oxygen. So, i-divide natin lahat using 1.032 mole. So, this is equal to 1. Divide by 1.032 mole. 2.057 divided by 1.032. That is equal to 1.99, approximately equal to 2. I-box na natin, no, yung ating results. Next, divide again by 1.032 mole. So 5149 divided by 1.032, it's equal to 4.99 or approximately equal to 5. And the last one, si carbon, divide by 1.032 mole. 4.122 divided by 1.032, it's equal to 4. Now, it's 3.99, but approximately equal to 4. Next, the last step is write the empirical formula. And how do you do that? The results are equal to the subscript. So, we start with carbon. Ano yung nakuha natin kay carbon? Carbon daw, the result is 4. So, that is C4. C4. Next, si hydrogen, ilan? Hydrogen is 5. So, hydrogen is 5. And then, we have nitrogen. Nitrogen is 2. Nitrogen is 2. Oxygen is 1. Hindi na natin sinusulat yung 1. This is your empirical formula. So, this is the answer for the first one, no? Now, we answer the follow-up question. Its molecular mass is 194.1 grams per mole. Find the molecular formula of caffeine. So, to get the molecular formula, diba, empirical formula lang yan, times n. And you have to solve for n. Yung n yung sinusolve natin. How do you solve for n? N is equal to the molecular mass na given. Molecular mass, lalagay ko na, specify ko dito, given. Given sa problem, over the empirical formula molecular mass. So, madali lang. Yung n mo sa taas, meron na. Ito siya. 194.1 gram per mole. Saan mo kukunin tong nasa baba, yung empirical formula ng molecular mass? Kukunin mo yung molecular mass nito. So, get the molecular the molecular mass of your empirical formula. 2O. Ayan. So, ano yung steps natin in getting the molecular formula? Kasi yan yung ilalagay natin sa denominator eh. So, steps, what do you call this? Enumerate the elements, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. Count the number of atoms. Carbon is ilan? 4. Hydrogen is 5. Nitrogen is 2. Oxygen is 1. Multiply with their atomic weights. Yung atomic weight, saan nakikita? Sa periodic table. So, dito, 12.01, 1.01, 14.00, and 15.99. And then, the last step is get the total, diba? So, 4 times 12.01, ilan yan? It's 48.04. 5.05, this is 28, and this is 15.99. So, add all that together. What's the answer? It's 97.08 gram per mole. This is the molecular mass of your empirical formula. So, dito sa baba, lagay natin 97.08. Now, gram per mole din yan. So, magka-cancel lang yan. So, walang unit. Unitless si n, no? So, 194.1 divided by 97.08. This is 1.99 approximately equal to 2. Yan yung value ng ating n. Yan yung value ng ating n. So, n is equal to 2. So, how do you get the molecular formula? Kung ito yung ating empirical formula, ang ating empirical formula ay C4H5 N2O, multiply lang natin by n. Ano yung value ng n natin? Yung na-calculate natin kanina, it's 2. So, times 2, distribute lang. So, the molecular formula is C, 4 times 2, it's 8, H10, N4, NO2. This is the molecular formula of your caffeine. So, molecular formula. Ayan. So, this is the molecular formula for caffeine. So, madali lang. medyo matrabaho lang, no? So, you'll have a copy of this PowerPoint. And, ayan. So, ito yung empirical formula. Yun din yung na-solve natin. And, parehas lang kami ng sagot, no? Madali lang, class, magkuha ng empirical formula and molecular formula. Sa totoo lang, matrabaho lang talaga, no? Marami lang steps. Pero apart from that, madali lang talaga siya. So, here is an exercise. Try to do this on your own. Again, anong sabi ko kanina, the only thing to master chemistry is to keep on solving and solving and solving. So, please do practice, no, whenever you have a free time. And here's another. Try to screenshot this or ask a copy from your lesson facilitator para makapag-practice kayo. And our next lecture will be on chemical reactions and chemical equations. So that's it. I'll see you on our next lecture. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate. Sabihan nyo lang kaming mga teachers ninyo anytime. Ha? Okay, that's it. Have a good day.